Part 31. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 301. After Hongxian sat down, Li Yun picked up the teacup, took a sip, and said slowly, "Are you in such a hurry to return to the original world in the Eternal City?" This. Hongxian rubbed his hands. With a sheepish smile. To be honest, he doesn't know what the original world was like, because he was born after living in chaos in the Everlasting City, and was raised by the Lord of the Everlasting City. In the entire Everlasting City, there is probably only one city owner. The impression of the original world is still retained. As a great commander, the will of the city lord is naturally at the forefront. If the city lord wants to go back, he must go back with him. Don't be nervous, I'm just talking casually. Li Yun said softly. Call. Hongxian let out a sigh of relief. Just now, he was very worried in his heart, fearing that the owner of Tianji had other purposes and blocked the return of Tianhuang Eternal City. If the owner of Tianji refused to let him go with their own strength, they might die in the Tianyuan world and not be able to go back at all. Because if they could go back, they would have gone back long ago. There is no need to delay until now. I would also like to ask my seniors to give you some pointers for the sake of the hundreds of thousands of people in the Everlasting City who are eager to return home. Hongxian pursed his lips, brushed his palms across the table in front of him, and a magical medicine appeared. It was filled with immortal energy, and the whole body was shimmering with precious light, attracting the soul. This is an imperial medicine. It is difficult to cultivate, and it has grown for many years. Was taken out by Hongxian. Tianhuang Eternal City was not a very strong force in the original world, but after all, there were true immortals sitting there, and there were still a few emperor-level elixirs. Even in Tianhuang there are many ways to become an emperor in the Eternal City. Their heritage is almost unrivaled in the Tianyuan world. After taking out an imperial medicine, Hongxian glanced at Li Yun anxiously. Although the imperial medicine it is precious, but it depends on what it is compared with. Even compared with the Tianyuan world, it is far inferior. Not to mention compared with their original world. The good thing is that they are not buying detailed information about a world, just in order to find a way back. The value of such a road and how many resources it is worth can only be determined by the senior Tianji poster. An imperial elixir. Li Yun picked up the elixir casually, looked at it carefully, and said, "It's not valuable enough, but I can tell you one thing." "Senior, it's okay to say it?" Hongxian said quickly. After hearing the first half of the sentence, he was still a little depressed, but after hearing the second half, he became excited instantly. He had already experienced the news about Tianji Tower. Meng Qingzi, who had just become emperor, was not here 1 year, but what is the reason for being able to trick him? Isn't it the news from Tianji Tower? Don't be happy too early. Li Yun glanced at Hongxian and said calmly, "What I'm going to say next may not be the news you want to know." Well. Hongxian's expression froze, and he had a bad premonition in his heart. He stiffly arched his hands and said, "Senior, please make it clear. I'm afraid I won't be able to go back to this everlasting city." Li Yun put down the teacup in his hand and said quietly, "Return, cannot go back." Hongxian was stunned. For a moment, he was a little unresponsive. He was not sure. "Senior, does he mean that we cannot open a space channel, or that the previous world has already?" "It is easy to open a space passage. With the strength of the Lord of the Everlasting City, he can open one in a moment." "But what if your original world has been destroyed?" Li Yun looked over and his eyes fell on Hongxian. "Destroyed?" Hongxian stood up with a bang and said in disbelief, "How is this possible?" "Nothing is impossible." Li Yun waved his hand to signal Hongxian to calm down. He said eloquently, although you have never been to your original world, you should have understood it. Moreover, you should also know why the everlasting city is wandering in chaos. Younger generation, I did have some understanding. Hongxian nodded. Li Yun chuckled lightly and said the world you were originally in is called Swanyan Realm. Among all the worlds in the world, it also belongs to the upper world and is powerful. But after the battle between the two terrifying figures, the Swanyan realm disappeared. The huge world was divided into three, and turned into the three worlds of Xianguang realm, Sumeru realm, and Jinhui realm. Among them, Xianguang realm is the strongest and Jinhui realm is the weakest. You, the everlasting city, fell into chaos to avoid disaster. Now it is impossible to return to the Tianyan realm, but it is not difficult to go to the other three worlds. By the way, I would like to remind you that the strength of these three worlds is now greatly reduced. With the strength of your city lord, even if it passes, it is impossible to make up for the longevity. Unless he can quickly break through the realm of true immortals and set foot on a higher realm. This. Hongxian sat numbly on the chair, as if all his strength had been taken away, his eyes dull. Across the everlasting city, the dreams that hundreds of thousands of people pursue throughout their lives turn out to be a mirror image and a moon in the water. This is too hard to accept. Especially when he learned that his city lord could not survive. It made him despair. Without the presence of the city lord, even if I and others go there, what will happen to any of the three worlds? After all, these three worlds were originally split from a top world. Each of them has a profound foundation, and it is easy to give birth to one or two true immortals. There may even be existences above true immortals. They ran over to the eternal city, and there was no real immortal to guard them. They were the first-class forces to stand up to the sky. This depends on people being willing to accept them. Of course, it is more likely to be hostile. After all, they said that they were creatures from the previous Tianyan realm. No one could prove it at all, but they were more likely to be regarded as intruders. Just think about the fate of the Fang family in the earthly immortal realm. Without the true immortal ancestor, he will be besieged by several forces and it will not take long. The city will vanish into thin air. It would be better to stay in this 1/3 of an acre of Tianyuan world, dominate all living beings, at least whether it is Tianyuan world or Zixuan world. Except Tianji Tower. They can't find any power in the city that can give them a fight. Senior, is there any way to make the original Tianyan realm reappear? Hongxian asked in a low voice. The reason why he asked this was because he thought of Zixuan realm and Tianyuan realm. Originally two unrelated worlds can be put together, but what about the world that was originally one? I am very curious whether the senior poster can achieve this step and let the Tianyan realm stand erect among all the worlds again. If the senior poster can do it, they seem to have some chances in the Eternal City. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 302. Oh. Li. Yun raised his eyebrows and said with a half-smile, it is not that simple to let the Tianyan realm reappear, let alone the Xianguang realm, Sumi realm, and Jinhui realm. The rest of the fragmented spaces are like the sand of the Ganges River, countless. It takes a lot of effort to make the original Tianyan realm appear. Li Yun did not mean to be alarmist with these words, but this is the fact. The Tianyan world is divided into three. The three worlds now are just the larger ones. The other small spaces, such as the everlasting city, there are so many forces wandering in the chaos. It would be a huge project to gather them all. The existence that can do this. Looking at the world, he is also an extremely terrifying person. Li Yun thought to himself, he can easily break through to the true immortal now, but even if he breaks through, he still cannot achieve this step. Even if he can do it, he will most likely not do it. Instead of letting the Tianyan realm reappear, it is better to combine the three. The world is all pulled together and spliced next to Tianyuan realm. In this way, Tianyuan realm can be regarded as reborn in disguise, and Tianyuan realm can also develop rapidly. Senior, if we can't return to Tianyuan realm, are there any other ways? Hongxian frowned slightly and said in a deep voice, for example, a world that is not weaker than Tianyuan realm. Li Yun raised his head, glanced at Hongxian, and said nonchalantly, there are countless worlds among the heavens and worlds. Although the Tianyuan world is not weak, it can rival it, or even surpass many worlds, and there are no few. For example, the fairy world, the god world, the demon world, and the wilderness world are all dozens of times stronger than the Tianyuan world. There are countless terrifying characters in them, and the natural rules of heaven are also more complete. Entering the everlasting city, even if you do nothing, just stepping into such a world is considered a heaven-defying opportunity. This is a powerful world. The higher the concentration of spiritual energy, the more valuable the genius treasures are. In essence, the creatures in each world are not different. The only difference is that the world they live in is different, such as Tianyuan Yechen and others in the world. If placed in the Tianyuan world, his upper limit may only be to become an emperor. But if it is placed in the immortal world or the divine world, it will not be a big problem to become an emperor or an immortal. If it is throwing Yechen into the immortal world was a life-changing event for him. This kind of opportunity would never come to him in a few lifetimes. In the same way, if the everlasting city could be passed, it could be said that it was you can wake up laughing even in your dreams. In the Tianyuan world, Tianhuang Eternal City is a terrifying force, but in top worlds such as the immortal world, it is nothing. Those who dominate the world will not be hostile to someone from another world. Ants. As long as they can survive and allow them to develop, it doesn't matter. Please give me some advice from my seniors. Hongxian stood up and saluted respectfully. At the same time, he took off the storage ring on his hand and handed it to Li Yun. Li Yun did not answer, but looked at Hongxian narrowly. Faced with this look, Hongxian he suddenly became at a loss, as if all his inner thoughts had been seen through, and there were no more secrets. Returning home is false, but going to a more powerful world is true, am I right? Li Yunfan said lightly. Nothing can be hidden from seniors. Hongxian said awkwardly. In the entire Tianhuang Eternal City, apart from the city lord, there is no other living being who still remembers what the Tianyuan realm is like. The main reason why they eagerly want to go back is that they want to go to a stronger world and gain stronger strength. After all, the Tianyuan world is too weak. The great emperor is already the limit. Going any higher is simply impossible. Even if Hongxian is more focused on the Lord of the Everlasting City, it is impossible for him not to have his own ideas. This time he learned that the Tianyuan realm had been destroyed, and his mission was considered completed. If you can buy a road to other worlds, it can be said to be an unexpected blessing. I guess the Lord of the Everlasting City will also be filled with joy. Pity. Li Yun shook his head, glanced at the storage ring in Hongxuan's hand, and said, these things are of too low value. Ah! Hongxian gritted his teeth. He was unwilling to give up and asked in a deep voice, Senior, after all your calculations, do you know about a world that is almost the same as the Tianyuan realm? Of course I know, but the Eternal City cannot afford it. Li Yun said. According to the seniors, which world can the Everlasting City go to? Hongxian asked. Xianguang realm, Sumeru realm, Jinhui realm, and Earth Immortal realm. Li Yun opened his mouth and slowly spit out the names of 7 or 8 worlds. In these worlds, true immortals are already the strongest existence. Such a world is not weak, but it is of little significance to the Eternal City. This. Hongxian was stunned. What should I do? After holding it for a long time, Hongxian spit out 6 words with difficulty. The Tianyun realm is gone, and the three worlds that were split have dropped sharply. It doesn't make much difference whether they go or not. They want to go to a stronger world, but they can't get it. Spending too many resources. Seeing that the life of the city lord is gradually exhausted, the everlasting city has almost reached a dead end. It would be fine if the city lord is weaker. The lower the strength, the easier it is to extend life. If it would not be a big problem for an ordinary person to just seal him up and wait for him to be born again after hundreds of millions of years. However, the city lord is a supreme true immortal. It is almost impossible to seal him up. Even if it costs a huge price, the life of the city lord is still passing slowly. Beings as powerful as true immortals cannot escape the sanctions of the law of time. Once the deadline comes, he can only sit down and become a handful of Lois. In the final analysis, the city still cannot pay enough. Li Yun reminded me softly. Hongxuan's eyes lit up when he heard this. This is indeed the root of the problem, but what worries him is, where can he gather resources? How many forces can he destroy? This is simple for him, but the senior poster will argue watching yourself act unscrupulously. Just thinking about it, it's impossible. Other forces are not fools. Once they are in danger of destruction, they will definitely not hesitate to lose everything, but they will also unite together and buy the ultimate destruction weapon from Tianji Tower. News from the old city. Although the city lord is a true immortal, he is no longer at his peak. He has not taken many actions. With the power of the eternal city, it is impossible to be the enemy of the whole world. If that doesn't work, why don't you go to the immortal realm first? Hongxian was caught in a dilemma. For the first time, he felt that the everlasting city was actually so poor, and at the critical moment, it could not produce many valuable things. Knowing that the way to a more powerful world was right here in front of us, it seemed as if there was a natural chasm that was difficult to cross. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 303. Earthly Immortal Realm. Li Yun chuckled. But nothing more was said. In a while, even if the creatures from the earthly immortal realm do not come, he will take action to bring the earthly immortal realm over and merge it with the Tianyuan realm. At that time, if there is an eternal city, it can play a very good neutralizing role. Lest one side is too strong. The other two parties can only be reduced to the position of being passively beaten. Senior, when will the space passage between the earthly immortal realm and the purple Xian realm be opened? Hongxian took out a skill, placed it in front of Li Yun, and asked softly. There are not many valuable things that can be obtained from the eternal city, so we can only change our goals and find other ways. At least first gather resources. The entire Tianyuan world and Zixuan world, these two world levels are there. The most precious things are just emperor-level materials. Relying on the resources of these two worlds to travel to other worlds, it seems that at present impossible. Only in the earthly immortal realm can there be hope to satisfy what they want. Space Channel. Li Yun raised his head, smiled slightly, raised his hand to pour himself a cup of tea, and said softly it shouldn't appear. Senior, what does this mean? Hongxian was puzzled. Because it won't be long before the earthly immortal realm and the Tianyuan realm will merge into one. Li Yun opened and closed the corners of his mouth and said slowly. These few words were very gentle, but when they fell in Hongxuan's ears, they were no less than the sound of thunder. Is Senior going to take action again? Hongxian thought in his heart. To this day, even the creatures in the Zixuan realm already know that the fusion of the two realms is because the master of the Tianji building secretly took action. There is no reason for them to get the news in the everlasting city. Unexpectedly, after the fusion of the two realms, soon. Master Tianji will bring the earthly immortal world over again. What is he going to do? Do he want to create a supreme world? Thinking of this, Hongxuan's heart is not only shocked, but also filled with joy. If this is true, that day why would Huangbilao City return to its original world? Just stay in the Tianyuan world and follow in the footsteps of the original poster. Wouldn't it just fly into the sky? You guessed it right. Li Yun did not deny it, but directly admitted it. This. Hongxian was stunned. At the same time, the Ye imperial clan. The moonlight is shining, the stars are like waterfalls, and the silver-white stars are falling down, making the entire imperial clan look mysterious and grand, and it can be called a fairyland. In the imperial clan, savage beasts roared and strange birds circled. Some were as big as giant mountains, or some had wings that covered the sky. They were all dominating one area. If placed in the outside world, they would still be giant monsters. But at this time, they were all reduced to mounts or just for viewing. On a divine peak, two figures sat opposite each other. On the jade table in front of the two of them, the fragrance of tea lingered, and the fragrance overflowed, filling the entire void. Fellow Daoist Yang, traveled hundreds of millions of miles from the Juyu demon sect to join the Ye family, but what's the important matter? Ye Changming picked up the teacup and said with a smile. Yang Qiu glanced at the teacup, but did not extend his hand, but said solemnly, I want to meet the great emperor of the Ye family. Oh! Ye Changming raised his eyebrows without any strange expression on his face. He smiled gently and said the ancestor of our clan has just become emperor and is currently stabilizing his realm. Not to mention fellow Daoist Yang, even Ye cannot see the ancestor. Ye Changming's words were very tactful. But the meaning was very clear. His ancestor was also a great emperor after all. How could he be someone he could meet whenever he wanted? Although Yang Qiu is the leader of the Nine Nether Demon sect, his status is still too different. More, if Meng Qingzi came in person, it would be almost the same. I have something important to do. Yang Qiu frowned and said in a deep voice. Fellow Daoist Yang, if you have anything to say, say the same to Ye. Ye Changming said gently. The great emperor of the blood demon realm may not be dead. Yang Qiu didn't show off, and said directly. If he couldn't see the Ye family emperor, he could just tell Ye Changming directly. After all, Ye Changming is the leader of the Ye family. His status is unmatched, and he has an extremely high right to speak. Ye Changming's palm holding the teacup shook slightly and spilled a lot of tea. He raised his head, looked at Yang Qiu, and said word by word. Fellow Daoist Yang, are you serious about this? This is about a great emperor, fellow Taoist, please don't make fun of me. At the beginning, the 6 major forces joined forces to destroy the Blood Demon clan. The battle was extremely brutal. 3 quasi-emperors participated in the battle, and 3 imperial weapons flew across the sky, crippling the land tens of thousands of miles away. To this day, the blood evil spirit is still lingering. They dispersed and turned that place into a desert. None of the blood demons who came from across the border survived, and even 2 of the most amazing and talented people from the blood demons who were on the prodigy list and the holy lord list died in the battle. In the end, a great emperor from the blood demon realm was brought out. This incident caused an uproar in the entire Tianyuan realm. Every cultivator in the Tianyuan realm knew in his heart that the world he was in and the blood demon realm were about to reach immortality. The situation is endless. The great emperor of the blood demon realm even said that he wants to settle accounts with this world. Once he returns from nirvana, no one knows how terrifying his strength is. If there is really going to be a war, the Tianyuan realm will probably it's dangerous. Maybe Zixuan realm will take the opportunity to add insult to injury. Although the 2 realms have merged, Zixuan realm and Tianyuan realm are still in a hostile relationship. The reason why they have not taken action now is because of the existence of the earthly immortal realm. This is the news that I bought it from Tianjilu. Yang Qiu said without blushing and without a beating heart. The great emperor of the blood demon realm was not dead. It was Li Yun who deliberately revealed it to him. And then when it came out of Yang Qiu's mouth at this moment, it was directly bought by him. In this way come. The meaning is different. For the sake of the Tianyuan world, I bought the news that the emperor of the blood demon realm is not dead. Then, when will the emperor of the blood demon realm come over, and what strength he will have after he comes, it depends on the rest of you. If the forces go and buy it, our Juyu demon sect will not come forward. Did the senior poster say that? Ye Changming fell into deep thought. After a moment, Ye Changming asked again, has the senior poster ever told you when the emperor of the blood demon realm will come? Never. Yang Qiu shook his head and said in a low voice, but it will come soon. The specific time depends on the sincerity of your Ye imperial clan and other forces. What I should do has been done. When the great emperor of the blood demon realm comes, don't say that I didn't remind you. You should understand what a successful emperor who has achieved nirvana means. Ye understands. Ye Changming nodded and then asked. Have you informed the Golden Crow and other clans? Nothing now. Yang Qiu glanced at Ye Changming, stood up, and said calmly, I have said what I have said. I believe you understand the current situation of the Juyu demon section. The burden of how to resist the great emperor of the blood demon realm falls on the shoulders of you forces. After that, Yang Qiu didn't wait for Ye Changming to answer, and quickly turned around and left. Ye Changming looked at the direction Yang Qiu was leaving, the expression in his eyes changing. After a long time, he sighed softly, stood up, and walked toward the back mountain. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 304. Tianyuan World. The original location of the Blood Demon clan. At this time, looking around, the earth is broken and desolate. The dark red evil spirit lingers in the sky, as if hundreds of millions of creatures are crying. The sound cuts through the void, spans the long river of time, and lingers continuously. Every creature that comes close to this place can't help but feel chills running down their spines. Even if he is as strong as a saint, he is still a little frightened. It's so terrible here. A battle not long ago. Not to mention the saints, even the great saints have fallen countless times. Even the blood of the quasi-emperor once dyed the void red, making every inch of the land carry a kind of demonic nature. It was as if I had arrived in boundless purgatory, extremely terrifying. Occasionally, we can see some monks who practice magic enter here, but they don't dare to go too deep. They only dare to linger on the edge for a while. On the way inward, if your cultivation is not deep, your mind will lose control in an instant and you will go completely crazy. Thousands of miles away from the battlefield, next to an inconspicuous hill, on the void, the Shenzhou floats, thousands of feet long, and its hull is covered with traces of swords, spears, and halberds. It is very vicissitudes of life, as if it has rushed out of blood and fire, and has experienced countless wars. A big flag is flying on the bow of the ship, with the word Tianyan written on it. Under the banner, there are countless elites, wearing armor, holding spears, and full of blood. Every cultivation level is very powerful, and the eyes are full of brilliance. Without the guidance of the owner of Tianji, who would have thought that there is actually a saint's inheritance hidden in a place like this? A man wearing a blue robe stood on the Shenzhou, looking at the hills below, with envy in his eyes, and said. He was originally a casual cultivator. After breaking through to the level of Holy Master, he joined the Tianyan dynasty. Becoming a worshipper, there is nothing much to do on weekdays. They just need to take the resources given by the Tianyan dynasty and practice with peace of mind. Generally, they don't need to show up if they don't encounter major problems. Now they follow the Emperor Tianyin out just to guard Baikan Hung. Just bought the news in Tianji building. Now Bei Chenheng has entered the opportunity. The more this time, the more careful he must be. No one can be sure whether there are people from other forces in the void nearby, waiting for help. Waiting for Bei Chenheng to come out, and then snatching the opportunity in his hands. In the past, this kind of thing has happened many times. It is said that the Holy Land of Taisha suffered a big loss if it was not noticed for a moment. Since then, every force has grown. He has a careful mind and is always on the lookout for those who plan to use his hands empty-handed. Yes. The person next to him nodded and agreed. When the war started between the Blood Demon clan and the Quasi-Emperor intervened, this saint's opportunity was not even discovered. Today, it fell into the hands of the Tianyin dynasty, and I have to say God's will. To a certain extent, the senior Tianji building master already represents God's will. Someone whispered. As soon as these words came out, many people's expressions did not change. Apparently they also thought so. Sometimes the things they fight for hard can't be reached, and the owner of Tianji can give a casual pointer, which can greatly improve people's strength. Isn't this God's will? It's a pity. 100 years ago, all my savings were used to buy some materials for refining weapons. If I still have some savings, I might have a chance to buy something in Tianji Tower. The man in blue robe sighed, with a look of regret on his face. The days ahead are long, fellow Taoists, don't be discouraged. Someone comforted. We are now serving the Tianyin dynasty, so it is better for everyone to be careful and vigilant. At this time, we cannot take it lightly. A middle-aged man wearing armor said in a loud voice. The general is right. The others nodded and didn't say much. It won't be long. Boom, with a loud noise, the hills below exploded, earth and rocks flew, and a powerful saint's aura rose into the sky, stirring up the wind and clouds in the sky. A divine emperor's aura went straight up to the sky. It was like a volcanic eruption, sweeping thousands of miles around. Everyone on the Shenzhou showed a hint of joy as soon as they felt this aura. The God Emperor is out. The man in armor said in surprise. It seems that this trip was without any surprises. The man in blue robe also said. Many of them breathed a sigh of relief. Originally, they were just worshippers of the Tianyin dynasty. They used their own strength in exchange for resources and had no sense of belonging to the Tianyin dynasty. Because they were originally casual cultivators. If you can practice with peace of mind, no one is willing to take action. At this time, no one shows up to compete for the opportunity. That would be great. In the sky. Bei Chenheng put his hands on his back and walked down from the void step by step. Before he landed, countless soldiers, he knelt down on one knee and shouted. Welcome to the God Emperor. Welcome to the God Emperor. Welcome to the God Emperor. Get up. Baikan Hung stretched out one hand, held it lightly in the sky, and said with a smile. This trip. He has gained a lot. Although this opportunity cannot bring the Tianyin dynasty to a higher level as a whole, it can help his descendants. Laying a solid foundation. As long as the third prince refines this opportunity, the Tianyin dynasty will definitely have a place on the list of geniuses in the future. It is foreseeable that after tens of thousands of years, their Tianyin dynasty will also become famous. This is a long-term investment, will not see results in a short time, but it will definitely make a lot of money in the future. If it is true as the senior poster said, a great emperor will be born in the Tianyin dynasty. That scene is simply unimaginable. By then, wherever God Emperor Tianyin's order goes, doesn't it mean that all races will surrender? Return to the divine dynasty. Baikan Hung landed on the Shenzhou. He stood at the front with great pride in his heart. He waved his hand and shouted loudly. Yes. A guard bowed to accept the order. Not long after, the Shenzhou trembled and slowly rose into the sky. Divine lines on the hull lit up, rippling out inexplicable power and breaking through the space. It seemed that it was about to leave in the next moment. Just as the Shenzhou left the second before. Boom! An extremely terrifying energy appeared, as if it appeared out of thin air. Even the avenues were in chaos, and the rules and order seemed to be collapsing, making the surrounding world dim. This momentum was too terrifying, like an ancient sacred mountain descending. With a crash it hit the Shenzhou. Bang! There was a loud noise. The Tianyin dynasty's Shenzhou descended from the sky, swooped down, and crashed into the earth. It made a big crater in the ground and splashed smoke and dust all over the sky. What happened? Many people were pressed to the ground by this aura, unable to move even a little bit. They could only lie on the ground in fear, and began to pray in their hearts that they would not be targeted by the owner of this aura. A quasi-emperor. Baikan Hung's hair was messy. He supported his body with both hands and barely knelt on the ground. His expression was very embarrassed. 1 second he was high-spirited. The next second, he became what he is now. It can be said that from heaven to hell, it took him a breath of time for him to not react at all. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 305. How is this going? Baikan Hung didn't react for a while. He was sure that the owner of this aura was definitely a quasi-emperor. He just bought a saint opportunity from Tianji Tower. How could he attract a quasi-emperor? Besides, he just bought a saint opportunity from Tianji Tower. The quasi-emperor, what do you want? As for coveting the opportunity of being a saint in your hand? You are not taking this opportunity for yourself, but for your third prince. A quasi-emperor will not rob you. It's my son's stuff. Don't know, is that senior joking in front of me? Baikan Hung spoke with difficulty. His voice was not loud, but it echoed in the void. Boom! The next moment, the space shook. Deep in the ancestral land of the Blood Demon clan, a crimson light flew through the air and landed in front of the Shenzhou. The brilliance dissipated. A tall figure, wearing a moon-white robe, with red hair with his eyes open, a man with a black gold bone pendant hanging between his eyebrows strode out. The black gold pendant on his forehead was shining brightly. It is an exclusive divine material for the emperor and protects his forehead bones. Wisps of fairy light overflowed from his body. This is an imperial weapon is reviving. The man stands in the void, 100 feet away from the Shenzhou, and does not move forward. Like an eternal god, in the dark red pupils, the sun and the moon rotate, creating the world, and the terror is boundless. Blood, the Blood Demon clan. Baikan Hengren was dumbfounded. He cursed Yang Qiu secretly in his heart. He had known for a long time that a man of the devil's way could not spit out ivory from his mouth. Who would have thought that Yang Qiu would really get what he said? The Blood Demon Emperor had not met him. But they met a quasi-emperor. Although he was a quasi-emperor, it was more than enough to kill them. At this time, among the people accompanying the Tianyin dynasty, the strongest one was him, the Tianyin God Emperor, who was not as strong as he is a saint. He had no power to resist the previous quasi-emperor. It's over now. Next to Baikan Hung, other worshippers of God Emperor Tianyin also felt cold in their hearts. Not long ago, the 6 major forces joined forces to fight against the Blood Demon clan. It can be said that it shocked the entire Tianyuan world. To this day, all clans in the Tianyuan world they talk about it with relish. Because this is an iron-blooded attack by the Tianyuan realm against the creatures from other worlds. It represents the strength and power of the Tianyuan realm. It is perfect for intimidating other worlds. For this reason, almost every cultivator has the Blood Demon clan knows each other very well. Even if they have never met, they understand each other's characteristics, and red hair and red eyes are the most striking features. The Blood Demon Clan is such a dead creature. A quasi-emperor has come over, and he can still communicate with them. Give up? Just thinking about it, everyone present knew in their hearts that if they waited for a while, they would probably die very quickly. Forward, Senior. At this time, a worshipper in the Tianyin dynasty spoke. His voice was very hoarse, but with a strong desire to survive. He said previously, "Generation, I am the enshrinement of the Tianyin dynasty, and the Blood Demon Clan, no injustice or hatred. The people who took action against the Blood Demon Clan before were the Ye Imperial Clan, the Lin Imperial Clan, the Golden Crow Clan, and the Kunpeng Clan. They have nothing to do with me. Please forgive me, Senior, please show me your noble hand, in the next life." Ah! Bei Chenheng smiled sadly and glanced at the person who spoke. At this juncture, he didn't expect that there would be people in his Tianyin dynasty who were so greedy for life and fearful of death. So many people from the Blood Demon Clan died. If you think about it with your toes, you can understand that the person came here to seek revenge. Is it a little too late to beg for mercy at this time? If he and others meet him, all he can say is bad luck. But begging for mercy is not necessary. It broke the backbone of the Tianyin dynasty in vain, and made people from other worlds look down upon the creatures of the Tianyuan world. If he had not been able to take action in the face of the quasi-emperor's power, otherwise, without the Blood Demon Clan's quasi-emperor taking action, he himself would have killed the person who spoke. The quasi-emperor of the Blood Demon Clan did not speak. His eyes flickered as sharp as a knife. No movement in sight. The body of the worshipper who had just begged for mercy turned into a cloud of blood mist and dissipated between heaven and earth. This scene. It makes countless people feel scared and their bodies feel like they have fallen into an ice cellar. Some people's bodies are trembling and their Taoist hearts are on the verge of collapse. The more powerful a person is, the more afraid of death they are. Even the great emperor is not exempt from this. Practitioners who have experienced the benefits of strength and can face death calmly are rare. Forward, someone yelled. But before he could finish his words, his body exploded into pieces. Noisy. The quasi-emperor of the Blood Demon Clan spoke. His face was pale, without a trace of blood, but his power was unparalleled, suppressing the heaven and the earth. The black gold bone pendant between his eyebrows glowed, radiating the power of the great emperor. He looked around everyone, and his eyes fell on the calmest one. Bei Chenheng's body. His voice was extremely hoarse and he said, "This world, but the Tianyuan world. How?" Baikan. Hung raised his head and looked at a quasi-emperor. He was unafraid and said calmly, "The Blood Demon Clan has been coveting this world for hundreds of millions of years. To this day, have you even forgotten the name of this world?" "No." The quasi-emperor of the Blood Demon Clan slowly shook his head, struggled to squeeze out a few words through his teeth, and said, "I and Zhang Tian are not the same." Burial Day. Baikan Heng's heart moved and he didn't understand the meaning of these two words. Who is the strongest person in this world? The quasi-emperor of the Blood Demon Clan asked again. "Ah. Bei." Chenheng sneered, but did not answer. The other party asked, "The strongest person in the Tianyuan world." His meaning was too obvious. Does he want to cut off the top combat power of the Tianyuan world? If he said so, didn't he become the sinner of the entire Tianyuan world? Although, on the surface, the strongest person in the Tianyuan world is the senior Tianji building master, but the senior himself said that and he took the initiative to expose the existence of his senior. They are two completely different situations. Anyway, he has the control. It's all death. It's better to let the secret exist for a little longer. Maybe. It won't be long before someone in the Tianyuan world will avenge him. Don't force me. The quasi-emperor of the Blood Demon Clan looked ugly. He turned around and glanced behind him, as if there were some terrifying creatures there, and said again, If Zhang Tian comes across the boundary, the Tianyuan world will also be destroyed. Only by telling me that the strongest person in this world can come forward can we have a chance to save this world. What's the meaning? Baikan Hung frowned. Blood Demon Realm, gone. The quasi-emperor of the Blood Demon clan sighed, with 2 drops of clear tears left in the corners of his eyes. As if he thought of some scene, his voice became extremely low. Without, gone. Bei Chenhung didn't react for a moment. The Blood Demon realm was extremely powerful at the beginning, and from time to time a great emperor would appear and come to attack the Tianyuan realm. Although the creatures in the Tianyuan realm looked down on the Blood Demon realm. But for the strength of the Blood Demon realm, I still agree with it. How can a world just disappear at the drop of a hat? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 306. This. Baikan Heng looked suspicious. Could it be, is this quasi-emperor lying to me? But, thinking about it, there seems to be no need to lie to him. He is just a saint, and he is a quasi-emperor. There is no use in lying to him. Do you have evidence? Baikan Hung asked with a frown. It was a matter of 2 worlds, and he couldn't easily believe it just because of the other person's words. I have no evidence. The quasi-emperor of the Blood Demon clan shook his head and said firmly, if you don't believe it, when the burial heaven comes, the Tianyuan realm will also follow the footsteps of the Blood Demon realm. I can tell. He glanced behind him. That is the spatial passage connecting the Blood Demon realm and the Tianyuan realm. At its location, his eyes were extremely solemn and he said word by word, not long after, Zhang Tian will be here. He has achieved nirvana in his 10th life, and his strength is unfathomable, enough to defy the heavens and defeat immortals. If the Tianyuan world does not deal with it in advance, I am afraid that it will not be Zhang Tian's opponent. Nirvana in 10 lives. Baikan Hung clicked his tongue. Is this fake? Although he is not an emperor, he still knows a little about the difficulty of nirvana. Every time he achieves nirvana, it can be said to be a gamble. The chances of failure are too great. Although after nirvana is successful, one can continue to live and his strength will be greatly improved. But if you make one careless move, you will lose everything. Your entire life will turn into running water, and there will never be a chance to start over again. It is precisely because of this that many great emperors are discouraged. Now, can you tell me the whereabouts of the strongest person in the Tianyuan world? The quasi-emperor of the Blood Demon clan looked at Bei Chenhung and asked in a deep voice. Well. Baikan Hung's expression froze. It seemed that the other party was not lying. But, in the world of cultivation, there are too many movie kings. Each of them has lived for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. It is difficult to tell whether a person is really acting with the naked eye. To be honest, he didn't want to tell the other party the whereabouts of Tianji Tower. In his mind, Senior Tianji Luzu is the strongest being in this world. In fact, not only him, but all the creatures in the Tianyuan world think so. From a personal standpoint, he believed that he should not tell the other party, but if what the quasi-emperor said was true, he chose to conceal it. The Tianyuan world may be caught off guard. The poster knows everything that happens in the 10,000 realms. If the great emperor from the Blood Demon realm comes, he should have expected it. If I tell the quasi-emperor in front of me, the senior poster should also know in advance. Bei Chenhung comforted himself in his heart. He collected himself. He raised his eyes, looked at the quasi-emperor in front of him, and said, I hope what you said is true. If there is any falsehood, neither you nor I can bear the wrath of the senior poster. Oh! A hint of surprise flashed in the eyes of the quasi-emperor of the Blood Demon realm. The person in front of him was just a saint. At first, he had no hope. After all, although a saint is strong, he may not be able to fully understand the reality of the entire world. What he didn't expect was that the other party actually knew the whereabouts of the strongest person in the Tianyuan world. Please say. The quasi-emperor of the blood demon realm spoke. The owner of Tianji. Baikan Hung slowly spit out 4 words. At the same time. The deserted city. Countless people stood in the city, looking up into the void with a look of surprise on their faces. Just now. Changes have occurred on the Tianyuan realm's crown prince list. When this happens, it usually happens when a certain quasi-emperor suddenly becomes emperor, such as when Aoshian becomes emperor, or when the ancestors of the Ye family imperial clan and the ancestors of the Golden Crow become emperors. For every person who falls off the list, someone else will take over. But the situation is different today. There was actually a quasi-emperor who managed to squeeze into second place. The appearance was very sudden. Instead of climbing up step by step, the moment he appeared, he occupied the second position in the Crown Prince list. This moment shocked countless people. If it were someone from the human race or the demon race, that would be fine, but it happened to be the race that many people least wanted to see. The Blood Demon Clan. I saw. After the Emperor's list. Second place, Shang Duxing. Race, Blood Demon Clan. Cultivation, Quasi-Emperor Peak. This line of writing is extremely eye-catching. It was made clear to all the tribes in the Tianyuan realm that after the Blood Demon Clan was destroyed, another Blood Demon came across the realm. If at any other time, the creatures of the Blood Demon Clan came over, it would be difficult for ordinary people to know, and even if they did, it would be too late. But it's different now. With this list existing. As long as it appears above, it means that this person is already standing in the Tianyuan world. Are the Blood Demon Clan here again? In Dawang City, there was a Saint King with a solemn expression. As soon as he saw Shang Duxing's name appearing, he passed it to the Holy Land behind him. One wave is not over, but another wave is rising. Next to him, an old man with white hair and a long beard said helplessly. The purple mysterious realm is still watching with eagerness, and the more powerful earth immortal realm is also unknown. At this critical moment, a powerful blood demon realm intervenes. A kick. For the current situation in the Tianyuan world, it is nothing more than making things worse. This businessman works alone, which is a bit scary. Among the Golden Crow clan, there is a great saint-level figure with blonde hair, wearing a golden robe, with light flowing all over his body, like a sun god, standing on the ground. He put his hands on his back, looked up into the void, his eyes were extremely solemn. As soon as he appeared, he occupied the second position in the list of emperors. This ranking, even more terrifying than the ancestors of some holy lands. If he becomes the emperor, the consequences could be disastrous. Nowadays, many people have seen it. This ranking of the emperor list not only ranks the chances of becoming an emperor, but to a certain extent, it also represents the strength after becoming an emperor. People who are more powerful in the quasi-emperor period. On the list of emperors, naturally the higher the ranking, the greater the hope of becoming an emperor. Naturally, the strength after becoming an emperor will be more terrifying. This Shang Duxing ranked second as soon as he appeared. If he becomes an emperor, among the same level, he will be the best. The only person who can fight with him is probably the great emperor of the Ye clan. What's even more important is that many people know it very well. In addition to this quasi-emperor, there is another great emperor in the blood demon world. The strength of the blood demon realm this time may be much more severe than when the ancient emperor Taishu existed in the past. It is urgent that I, the quasi-emperor of the Tianyuan realm, should take action. Someone suggested. Now that the quasi-emperor has just come over, it's time to eradicate him, otherwise things will change later. There is only the emperor list, but no emperor list. No one knows whether the great emperor of the blood demon realm came here together. If so, I'm afraid, no matter how many times the quasi-emperor goes, it will be useless. A great sage shook his head slightly and said, if I had known this, I should have deployed some people near the space passage to monitor every move in the blood demon realm. A Holy Land disciple said in a deep voice. Are you kidding me? Someone had a joking look on his face and sneered, we are monitoring a space passage, do you go or do I go? At the other end of the space channel, there is a world. In that world, there is a great emperor. If someone comes here, the first person to be unlucky will be the monitor. And the forces behind the monitor. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 307. But if we don't monitor them, we will be like blind and deaf people now, and we don't even know how many creatures have come from the blood demon realm. Someone retorted. Not really. The great sage of the Golden Crow clan raised his hand to stroke his beard, with golden light shining in his eyes. He said slowly, at least, the senior poster should already know. The list of emperors has been updated, and the senior poster may already know the specific information. A demon clan with wings on his back and his body covered with scales said quietly. What do the Golden Crow clan plan to do? At this time, a burly man with dragon horns came out. He came from the dragon clan and had been staying in the wilderness city. He saw that the creatures from the blood demon realm had crossed over. Even if he was as strong as the dragon clan, he could not calm down. Got it? The leader of our clan is already on his way to Dawang City, and our ancestor has already gone to the ancestral land of the blood demon clan. The great sage of the Golden Crow clan said calmly. As soon as these words came out, many people breathed a sigh of relief. Although the great emperor of the Golden Crow clan has just become emperor, his strength is not weak. At this time, he rushed there first, even if he could not kill the blood demon. The world creatures rushed back. But stabilizing the situation should not be a problem. As long as there is no big war. In a short period of time, the Tianyuan world should be able to maintain the situation. The ancestor of my clan also rushed away. A great sage among the Ye clan also said. Hearing the statements of the two major forces, the people present, who were originally worried, gradually put their minds back. The two great emperors took action, and the chaos was still there. Meng Qingzi and others from the Star Sea region. In their opinion, they should be able to deal with an emperor of the blood demon realm with a handful of hands. Look! The people from the Ye imperial clan have arrived. Someone was sharp-eyed. Soon they saw the chariot of the Ye clan leader. After the Ye clan leader arrived, the people from the Lin imperial clan also came, followed by the Jinwu clan leader, and these three forces together. Invisible, it seemed to have taken a shot in the arm. It relaxed the atmosphere of the entire great desert city a lot. What a big move in the blood demon realm, and once he takes action, he becomes a quasi-emperor. Ye Changming, the head of the Ye clan, stepped out of the chariot. He was wearing a purple robe and a jade crown with a graceful demeanor. As soon as he appeared, he looked up at the list of emperors above his head. Although there were people from the Ye clan in Dawang City, but letting other people enter the Tianji Tower is not as solemn as the clan leader coming in person. More importantly, the Ye clan members staying in Dawang City do not have so many resources in their hands. If they want to obtain the blood demon, the resources required to understand the virtual reality of the world are not a small amount. Instead of traveling hundreds of millions of miles to send resources, it would be better for him to go there himself. After all, it is a world, and it is reasonable to have several quasi-emperors. Clan leader Lin strode over. He was very tall and strong. As he moved, his energy and blood surged. He was as breathtaking as a walking volcano. Just a broken world. Ye Changming said with a sneer. In the blood demon world, it only takes tens of thousands of years to become an emperor. However, the incomplete rules have laid great hidden dangers for their cultivation path. This kind of hidden danger, in the early days, it will not break out. When they reach the peak of the great emperor and want to go further, hidden dangers appear. The limitations of the world make it difficult for them to take the last step. Even if the creatures of the blood demon realm step into the Tianyuan realm, it is not possible to eliminate this hidden danger in a short time. If it is ignored, it will be the same in any world. The lack of rules can cut off most of their lifespan. Only by making up for the shortcomings, only then can they integrate into the Tianyuan world and increase their longevity. And the time to make up for the shortcomings will start with tens of thousands of years. This period of time is enough for a creature in the Tianyuan world to come from scratch and eventually become an emperor. Now that you two have arrived, let's stop talking nonsense. The creatures from the blood evil world are coming across the border, and their purpose is well understood. The first ones to bear the brunt are our forces. The leader of the Golden Crow clan is a middle-aged man with a face as sharp as a knife and eyes as sharp as a sword from the sky. He bowed slightly to his great saint-level ancestor in the distance, then turned around and looked at the two clan leaders of the Ye clan. Let's go see the senior poster first. Ye Changming straightened his clothes, then held onto the jade crown, and said loudly with the strength of the poster, he should know everything about the situation of the great emperor of the blood demon realm. Good. The head of the Lin clan nodded. The three of them looked at each other, and instead of waiting for the others, they stepped into the Tianji Tower together. Coming. Inside the Tianji Tower, Li Yun stood in the lobby, with his hands behind his hands, his back to the three people. He already knew it when they stepped out of the gate of their respective powers. At this time, they came to the Tianji Tower, as Li Yun expected exactly the same. Junior, I have met the senior poster. The three of them saluted together. Sit down. Li Yun turned around, smiled slightly, and touched the void with his palms. Three more chairs suddenly appeared on the ground, as if they were created out of thin air. It was very magical. The three of them were already used to it. After each bowing, they sat down one by one. You should already know the news that the Blood Demon clan has crossed over. Li Yun spoke first, breaking the silence in Tianji Tower. Thanks to the list of emperors released by my predecessors. The chief of the Golden Crow clan raised his hands and said, if there is no list of emperors, we don't know how long it will take to get the news. Just like before, the Blood Demon clan attacked the six forces together. If there was no Tianji Tower, no one would need to take action. They would have to be reduced to a pot of porridge by themselves until the great emperor of the blood demon realm came over. I'm afraid. The Tianyuan realm has already been, their vitality was severely damaged. It didn't take much effort to deal with them. It can be said that Li Yun's existence had invisibly saved the possibility of the Tianyuan world being destroyed. There is no need to say flattery, I have heard too many of them during this time. Li Yun waved his hand. Every living being who stepped into the Tianji Tower would brag about themselves. Li Yun also understood the mentality of those senior masters. Hearing the same words for the first time, he might be a little happy. Even if you feel ecstatic, but if you listen to it too much, you will naturally get tired of it. Keep listening. Even a normal person will feel a headache. Well. The leader of the Golden Crow clan, his face froze, he laughed dryly, and continued, Senior taught me a lesson. To be fair to Senior, this junior came here to inquire about news about the blood demon world. I wonder how many people came from the blood demon realm this time. What is the current strength of the great emperor of the blood demon realm? Have you arrived at Tianyuan realm? He spoke very fast, and there was a long list of questions as soon as he opened his mouth. Li Yun's expression did not change when he heard this. His eyes fell on the Golden Crow clan leader and he said slowly, any one of your questions is worth a lot of money. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 308. The Golden Crow clan leader and others looked at each other. At this point, they had anticipated it before arriving. But for your own sake, you have to buy information no matter how expensive it is. Only by knowing your enemies and your friends can you survive better. Especially in the Blood Demon realm, after a Quasi-Emperor came over, this idea in their hearts became even more firm. After asking the questions in your mind, the Golden Crow clan leader took off a ring from his hand and placed it in front of Li Yun. Beside Ye Changming and the leader of the Lin Imperial clan pursed their lips and took out their own things. The affairs of the Blood Demon realm were related to the entire Tianyuan realm. As the force that took action in the first place, they were the first to bear the brunt and could not take advantage by striking first. They must be the unlucky ones in the end. Not many people from the Blood Demon realm crossed over this time. Put away the storage ring, Li Yun took a look at the things inside, with a calm expression on his face. He glanced at the three of them and said slowly, there is only one Quasi-Emperor. A Quasi-Emperor. Ye Changming frowned slightly, with a puzzled look on his face. He asked, Senior, is Shang Duxing on the list of crown princes? Good. Li Yun nodded. In this world of blood demons, there is some confidence. A Quasi-Emperor comes first. Is he going to be a pioneer? Ye Changming murmured. He originally thought that the Blood Demon realm would have to be led by a Quasi-Emperor, followed by countless elite soldiers. There would be dozens of great sage-level figures. But I never expected that a Quasi-Emperor would come over first. This was not like the style of the Blood Elf world. It also didn't look like a war was about to start. After all, after the territory was conquered, someone had to manage it, right? The Quasi-Emperor he is not an ordinary person. He cannot do everything by himself. If so, he will be burdened with trivial matters and will not even have time to practice. Senior, when will the soldiers of the Blood Demon realm come over? The leader of the Lin clan asked. In their opinion, the arrival of a Quasi-Emperor may be just the beginning, and the ones behind him are the big ones. Even if several Quasi-Emperors collapsed in a series, they were not surprised at all. Soldiers. Li Yun smiled and said hurriedly, I can't make it. Hearing this, the head of the Lin clan had a look of astonishment on his face. He and the other two people looked at each other, and they both saw the confusion in each other's eyes. Senior means. Thoughts were racing in Ye Changming's mind, and he asked in a low voice, that great emperor of the Blood Demon realm, has he changed his mind? This was the only possibility. Only then can we explain the reason why soldiers from the Blood Demon realm cannot get through. No. Li Yun did not continue to talk about it. He said softly, there are probably only 2 blood demons left in the Blood Demon world. This. The three of them gasped at the same time. What the hell? What happened? They have never been to the Blood Demon realm, but it is still a world after all. Although Tiandao is a little worse than Tianyuan realm, the world's area may not be small. Same reason. There may not be fewer creatures in the Blood Demon realm than in the Tianyuan realm. Get started. It must be billions of living beings. Previously, hundreds of millions of creatures of the Blood Demon clan were wiped out, which seemed like a lot, but in fact, for the entire Blood Demon clan, it was just a drop in the bucket. In the world of Blood Devils, the Blood Demon clan occupies a dominant position and can pull out countless elites at will. How is it possible that there are only 2 blood demons left now? That Shang Duxing belongs to the Blood Demon clan, he should be one of the 2, and there is another great emperor in the Blood Demon realm, who should also be of the Blood Demon clan. This way, there is only one Quasi-Emperor and one great emperor left in the Blood Demon clan? Many people have met the great emperor of the blood demon realm before and know that he is a male. If that Shang Duxing is also a male, it can be said to be very sad. The blood demon clan was exterminated. It's hard to say whether there are blood demons in other worlds among all the worlds, but the blood demons in the blood demon world are 100% gone. Senior. The leader of the Golden Crow clan had a thoughtful look in his eyes. A terrible guess appeared in his mind and he asked. But there was a great chaos in the blood demon world. This sentence reminded the other two people. That should be it. The Lin clan let out a long breath and said maybe the blood demon clan started a war with other clans in the blood demon realm, which eventually led to the destruction of the blood demon clan. I have to say that this speculation is very reliable. A look of wisdom flashed in the eyes of the leader of the Lin clan. This kind of thing has happened in the Tianyuan world and also in the history of the Zixuan world. For example, billions of years ago, the human race in the Zixuan realm was once the only one in the world, and they wanted to unify the Zixuan realm. However, they were counterattacked by thousands of tribes and eventually lost. The entire group quickly fell from its peak. Nowadays, even a complete technique cannot be produced, and the strongest person is only a saint. It can be said that he is already on the verge of annihilation. Estimate. The same is true for the blood demon realm. Maybe, the great emperor of the blood demon realm wanted to take advantage of the situation, but he had to settle down the internal situation first, but in the end he failed to do so well and got his entire tribe involved. In this way, it can be considered a good thing for the entire Tianyuan world. Wrong. Li Yun shook his head. These three people have very strange brain circuits. In this moment, they have already imagined the scene of a battle between thousands of races in the blood demon realm. Unfortunately, the facts are not what they thought. Li Yun put his hands on his back, walked up to the three of them step by step, looked down from a high position, and said with a smile, a great chaos has indeed occurred in the blood demon world. But it's not what you think. Oh. Ye Changming raised his eyebrows, cupped his hands and said, Senior, please clarify my doubts. The other two people also showed expressions of listening attentively at this moment. What I just meant is that the three of you may have misunderstood. In the blood demon world, it is not that there are only two living creatures left in the blood demon clan, but in the entire world, there are only two living creatures left. As soon as Li Yun spoke, it was like a thunderous explosion, roaring in the ears of the three of them. There are only two creatures left in the blood demon clan, and there are only two creatures left in the blood demon world. Those are two completely different situations. The former represents the end of the blood demon clan. The latter represents the end of the entire blood demon realm. Gudong. Ye Changming's face turned pale, he swallowed hard, and asked Senior, what happened in the blood demon world? It's not a big deal. Li Yun waved his hand casually and said indifferently, it's just the great emperor of the blood demon realm who sacrificed the whole world with his blood. This. Ye Changming was confused. The world of blood demons was sacrificed to blood. Hiss. Next to him, the sound of the leader of the Golden Crow clan gasping for air came. He didn't look good either. A world being sacrificed to blood is not just talk. It must have been the great emperor who had been planning for countless years to do it. What a cruel method. Only then can you personally sacrifice the world you live in? Is he crazy? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 309. After a long time. Only then did the Lin clan leader come back to his senses. He looked solemn and said in a deep voice, some great emperors are indeed so cruel. There are many corpses on the way to becoming emperors. They have long been used to seeing life and death. especially when their relatives and friends have left, their best friends are no longer here, and they are the only one left when they look back at the eternity. They have nothing to worry about. As long as they can take a step closer, sacrificing blood to the world is not a problem, impossible. But this is too heartless. Yet Changming is still unable to accept it. He asked himself, even if all his relatives have left him, once the human race is in danger, he will still stand up and fight for the human race. If he is allowed to sacrifice his blood to the world, I am afraid that he will not care. No way it can be done. Everyone has his or her own ambitions. Li Yun said lightly. Everyone has different personalities and different ambitions. There are also ruthless emperors in the Tianyuan world, but there are also emperors who have given up everything for the people behind them. Everyone has different ideas. It is not necessary and impossible to convert one person into another. One person's will is imposed on another person. Which person who can become an emperor is not a person who insists on his own beliefs and has not wavered for hundreds of millions of years. Senior, are there no other great emperors in the blood demon world? The Golden Crow clan leader raised his hand to stroke his beard, with a deep look on his face, and asked the doubts in his heart. No matter how you say it, the blood demon world is still a huge world. With many years of accumulation, there will always be some living emperors. How could they, watching helplessly? One of them sacrificed the whole world with blood. Of course there is. Li Yunfan said lightly, but what if the difference between the two is too great? Moreover, the heaven-burying emperor of the blood demon realm has lived for a very long time. His 10th life in nirvana has been laid out for eternity. If it can be easily broken, doesn't it make his layout seem particularly ridiculous? Nirvana 10th life. These 4 words. In the hearts of the 3 people, there was once again an uproar. Ordinary emperors are very likely to fail after achieving nirvana in one life, but this emperor of the blood demon realm actually achieved nirvana in 10 lives. How amazing and brilliant is he! How powerful is his strength! Senior, will he become an immortal? Ye Changming asked with difficulty. Although he was very reluctant to admit it, he had to say that it was indeed possible. 10 lives of nirvana, a blood sacrifice for one world. Any method would be enough to shock the world. No. Li Yun shook his head. In his opinion, the great emperor of the blood demon realm was an out-and-out tragic figure. With his qualifications and talents, if he were to change his world, such as the earthly immortal realm, he would definitely be able to become an immortal. Yes, there is no need for nirvana for 10 lives, and there is no need for a blood sacrifice to a world. But he was born in the blood demon world. The upper limit of this world is the peak of the great emperor. There is no possibility of going further. He has exhausted all methods. Finally, at the peak of the great emperor, he took another step forward, but still did not become a true immortal, but he was still better than all the great emperors. That's good. The 3 of them breathed a sigh of relief in unison. As long as they don't become immortals, everything is still under control. As long as there are enough emperors on their side, they can kill him with their numbers. Don't be happy too early. Li Yun spoke. His words were like a basin of cold water poured down from the heads of the 3 of them. Although Zhang Tian has not become an immortal, he is already above the emperor. If you really want to say that, well, it can probably be compared to a half-step true immortal. Half-step true immortal. This realm does not exist at all. This is a realm Li Yun thought of in his mind to illustrate the realm of the burial emperor. Half-step to true immortality. This is the first time the 3 of them have heard these 4 words. Just listening to the name, there is an unknown feeling. It seems that it no longer belongs to the realm of the great emperor, but is about to step into the true fairyland. Senior, if I, the ancestor of the Ye family, faced off against the burial emperor, what would be the outcome? Ye Changming felt a sense of uneasiness in his heart for no reason. His ancestor has gone to the ancestral land of the Blood Demon clan. Your question. Li Yun glanced at Ye Changming and said angrily 10-0. The burial emperor finally became an emperor by his own ability. Even when he reached the peak of the emperor, he began to think about how to become an immortal. As for the ancestor of the Ye family, although his strength is not weak. But it's just not weak anymore. He even became the emperor under his own guidance. He became the emperor in less than a year. Even if he was the reincarnation of the Son of Luck, he would not be able to defeat the burial emperor at this time. If they really matched up, there would be absolutely no chance of winning. Even being able to escape is considered a blessing in misfortune. That. The leader of the Golden Crow clan pondered for a moment and then also spoke. If we added, what about the younger ancestors? Still 100% open. Li Yun said angrily, you too, don't you think that those great emperors who died at the hands of Zhang Tian in the Blood Demon realm are all for free, right? The burial emperor has overthrown the entire Blood Demon world. How many great emperors are there in the Blood Demon realm? There are probably 2 or 3 at least. It's possible that there are 7 or 8 more, but they just don't usually come forward. There are so many. Even if the emperor comes together, they can't defeat Zhang Tian. Do you really think that the ancestors of the Ye family and the ancestors of the Golden Crow can defeat him? Senior, when will the burial emperor cross the border? Clan leader Lin asked the last question in his mind at this time. Li Yun didn't answer immediately. He glanced at the system panel in front of him and said softly, Zhang Tian has already set off at this moment. How fast a great emperor can be. This is indescribable. If you fall in one step and travel hundreds of millions of miles, that's all to say nothing of it. Anyway, taking 1 or 2 steps across several star fields is as simple as eating and drinking. Since Zhang Tian has already set off, he may step into the space channel in the next second. In a second or 2, we might be coming to Tianyuan realm. Think of this. For no apparent reason, Ye Changming and the Golden Crow clan chief felt chills running down their backs, and a creepy feeling rushed from the soles of their feet to their heads. Just now, I and others asked about the strength of Emperor Zombie, and the reply given by the senior poster was very clear. A ruthless man who sacrificed the whole world. It's not something that 1 or 2 great emperors can stop, let alone someone who has just become an emperor. It's not something that can be provoked, if the 2 sides really confront each other. The Golden Crow clan and the Ye clan, maybe the emperor of the clan will invite all the major forces to have a feast in his clan before they can warm up. Think of this. At the same time, both of them took out a jade slip. A message was quickly entered. The content is: Ancestor, retreat quickly. After the message was entered, it was quickly transmitted. The 2 of them held the jade slips in their hands and secretly prayed in their hearts that this message should be delivered to the ancestors as soon as possible, and they must not confront the zombie emperor. Otherwise, everything will be ruined. It's too late. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 310. The ancestral land of the Blood Demon clan. There is a scorched earth here, the mountains have collapsed, the rivers have dried up, and there are thousands of miles of red land without any life. Looking around, the ground was scarlet and dripping with blood, and broken bones and pieces of flesh were scattered everywhere, which was shocking. Some of the blood gathered into a river, carrying a sky-high evil spirit and spreading across the wilderness. There was a lot of quasi-emperor's blood in it, and the energy was very rich. It's shocking. There is a terrifying pressure spreading. If you are weaker than you, if you approach this place rashly, you will feel the soul-killing aura stirring, even a strong saint will find it difficult to resist. At this time, over the dead silent land, a hanging river of heaven extends from the end of the universe, like the long river of destiny, its breath presses the sky, and its endless waves sweep across the void. Above the Tianhe, various divine sounds came out, rumbling and deafening. It's like it spanned the ancient times and came from a distant era. Tread. The sound of crisp footsteps echoed. On the Tianhe River. A man in black stepped forward, with his hands behind his back, his hair disheveled, and endless stars disillusioned in his eyes. The extremely rich imperial power swept across all directions like a tide. He was like a heavenly emperor. Going out on a tour, standing on the 9-layered sky tower, overlooking all the worlds, the 8 wastelands of the universe, and I am the only one. This is a kind of grand spirit. There is a huge pressure that naturally spreads out, making the heavens and all realms tremble. Everything originates from the Tianhe figure above. Tread. Tread. The man in black kept walking, following Tianhe, until he reached the depths of the Blood Demon clan, and then stopped. In front of him was a majestic white jade altar, towering into the clouds, extremely solid, and had experienced it has been exposed to wind and rain for hundreds of millions of years, but it is still immortal and exudes a majestic atmosphere. Above the white jade altar, there is a space crack that has existed for countless years. It is extremely deep and leads to another world. Not long after he stopped, a sound that penetrated the golden cracking cloud came out. At the end of the earth, another round of blazing sun rises. Thousands of golden lights illuminate the 3,000 realms, complementing the sun in the sky, exuding the most powerful and sunny atmosphere. The true fire of the sun burned the void, distorting everything. Faintly, it can be seen that in the blazing sun that has just appeared, there is a 3-legged creature with its belly spread out and flying upwards, as if a demon king has been resurrected. Exuding the power of dominating the world. When his eyes open and close, golden light bursts out, looking down at the world. You came. Ye Kong spoke, his voice was very low, and there was no hint of joy or anger. The last time he fought against the quasi-emperor of the Blood Demon realm, he teamed up with the Golden Crow Patriarch and Menkingzi to attack. At that time, they were all still quasi-emperors, but this time they fought again came to the same place. The strength has undergone earth-shaking changes. The 3 quasi-emperors of that day have all become great emperors today. If Menkingzi comes, all 3 of them will be considered great emperors. Menkingzi can't come. The ancestor of the Golden Crow transformed into a blazing sun, stretched across the void, and bloomed with billions of rays of light. The moment the voice came out, billions of stars swayed. It exuded supreme power and was extremely terrifying. No problem. Ye Kong didn't care. Almost every high-ranking force in the Tianyuan world knew Menkingzi's current situation. Now that his self-protection is a problem, how could he reach the ancestral land of the Blood Demon clan from the Chaos Star Sea? Even if he comes, no one can say whether he is here to help or to cause trouble. After all, behind Menkingzi, there are still a group of great emperors chasing him, including Ling Xiao, several great emperors from the Zixuan realm, and even the great emperor of the Tianyuan world and the earthly immortal world. Regarding the inheritance of true immortals, he has almost offended all the enemies he could offend in this life at once. The reason why the 9 Nether Demon sect is still there is thanks to his foresight to generalize the section the door moved near the Tianji Tower. Although the owner of the Tianji Tower didn't say anything. But who dared to take action near the Tianji Tower? Not even a great emperor dared to risk the possibility of offending the owner of the Tianji Tower and shoot the 9 Nether Demon sect to death. What are you going to do? The ancestor of the Golden Crow spoke, his voice booming. A cross-border battle. Ye Kong's words are concise and to the point, with 5-color divine light flowing in his eyes. He moves his hands and feet calmly and calmly. He has a natural aura, which is a belief that I am invincible. Do you want to go there? The ancestor of the Golden Crow frowned. Although the great emperor of the Blood Demon realm had a relationship with him and others, as the emperor of the Tianyuan realm, he looked at them just like the creatures of the earthly immortal realm. he was born with a sense of superiority. Even if knowing that the other party has now achieved nirvana and is no longer the same as before. But Yekong still wants to take the initiative. Good. Yekong nodded, his hair flying, his fighting spirit erupting like a volcano, rolling up the sky, and said solemnly, once the Imperial War begins, it will surely sink hundreds of millions of miles away. By then, the mountains and rivers will be shattered and all races will wither. Instead of doing this, it would be better to place the battlefield in the Blood Demon realm. This point. It speaks to what the ancestor of the Golden Crow is thinking. Before he came, he also had this idea. If the Tianyuan world is really crippled, the situation will be too difficult to end. At present, around the Tianyuan world, powerful enemies looked around. If you can save an extra part of your vitality, you must save one more point. If you are held back by the Blood Demon realm for a little bit, you will be in big trouble. There is no guarantee that the great emperors of the Purple Xian realm will not take advantage of it. You and I don't know where the other end of the space passage is. Once you enter, you need to be careful. The ancestor of the Golden Crow said in a deep voice. At first, Dragon Emperor Aoxian, relying on the method of blocking the door and the power of a dragon, held back the three great emperors of Zixuan realm. This scene is still fresh in my memory. They also had to guard against this hand. Just in case. The two of them went in with their front feet. Hind feet. The great emperor of the Blood Demon realm took action to destroy the space channel, and the two people were completely tragic. They fell into chaos and it was unknown whether they could come back. There is a high probability that he will completely lose his direction and then die sadly. Rest assured. Yekong returned at will. He raised his steps and walked towards the space passage. On the sky. The ancestor of the Golden Crow also gathered his brilliance and transformed into a middle-aged man wearing a golden robe. He walked down from the void and met Yekong. Standing side by side. The two men were majestic, like gods coming to the world. The power of their bodies naturally escaped, and the oppressive void trembled. The steps were lifted. Before falling. Suddenly. Yekong's expression changed, he stopped, and a ball appeared in his hand. After glancing at the contents of the jade slip, his face looked a little confused. Ancestor, please retreat quickly. What for? Yekong raised his head and looked at the Golden Crow patriarch next to him. The latter also received a message. At this time, he didn't understand it and didn't know what happened. Before the two of them came to their senses, another message appeared in the jade slip. There was a flash of light. A new piece of news had arrived. It was time to take a look at what was yet to come. Boom. There was an explosion in the sky. The space channel collapsed and turned into a sky full of brilliance. The void was like a mirror, shattering inch by inch, and a huge hole appeared. Chaos and mist surged, like the Milky Way bursting its banks, flooding all directions. In the depths of the chaos, there was a looming figure. It looks like a god and demon, and its aura is extremely terrifying. It is walking step by step.